Hi guys, welcome back to the James Bond Show. I'm your host, Krazy Kajeevie, with no fear, limit, or substitutes, the bad boy of James Bond, the top G of James Bond. So, what am I here with today with this newly edited video? My first one, finally taking the James Bond Show a little bit more professional, and today is top 10 actors who should play a James Bond villain. Top 10 actors who should play a James Bond villain. Now, we've had so many great villains. We've had Javier Bardem play Silver. We've had Mads Mikkelsen play Le Chiffre. And who else have we had? Let's see. Joseph Wiseman, Gerd Frober, Dr. No, Goldfinger respectively. So many great villains, and one of my favourites, Michael Lonsdale, who played Drax.
You care for
He was awesome. But what could we have in Bond 26, and even looking forward into the future? What actors are out there that haven't been cast in a James Bond film, or some actors that maybe play the good guys and heroes in their careers, who could have that little twist of baddiness to play a great James Bond villain. Now, why do I say that? I say that because this list is really, really different. Some of what I've got here is going to shock you. Now, it's 1 to 10, 1 being favourite, so I'm starting at number 10 and working my way down. I am going to give a few honourable, dishonourable mentions of what people talk about, and one disclaimer. So let's get right into this. Okay. My disclaimer is, and it's a bit of a, might be a bit of a upset some people. But my disclaimer is, there are no women on my list. Yep, Krazy Kajeevie, the sexist, misogynist dinosaur, has not put any women on this list. Why have I not got women? And who is the closest woman that could get on the list? Okay, I don't have any women on the list because the reason being, it's actually, part of this is really nice because I see women more as nurturers, and even when women play great baddies in the James Bond films, like Xenia Onatopp in GoldenEye, Rosa Klebb in From Russia with Love, played by Lotte Lenya, they're more in supporting roles. They're not really the chief villain. Now, of course, we've got Electra King, and some people really debate still to this day, was she the key villain in The World Is Not Enough, or was it actually Robert Carlyle as Renard? So, the main key point, so I see women more kind of like nurturing and whatnot, etc., but the main key point, they're not on my list, is I couldn't truly think of a female, an actress, who could physically take on James Bond in a fight. And for me, I need a villain of a Bond film to not just be a background kind of person or pulling the switches or whatnot. They need to be able to get into a physical altercation with Bond. And therefore, I like men to be Bond villains. I think men need to be, because they're physically stronger, etc., and just big enough to take on James Bond. I mean, imagine a current modern day female actress that's been acting over the last 15 years, James Bond, Daniel Craig's James Bond in a fight. It just wouldn't happen. So that's my reason. But if I did have a female on this list, it would be Frances McDormand. But I could see her playing kind of like a Rosa Klebb type of villain. And I reckon Frances would be pretty great at that. So without any more further ado, guys, let's get into my top 10 actors that should play a James Bond villain. Starting with number 10. Now, this is going to shock you guys. It's going to shock you. Number 10 is an actor that probably 95% of the planet want to see cast as James Bond. Yep. Superman himself, Henry Cavill, as a James Bond villain. Why? Okay, he's going to be 40 this year. I think his time to play Bond has passed. I think the fact that there's rumours he can be difficult, I don't really believe those. When you see him in interviews, I think he's a fantastic guy, but you know, we can only go from what we see. I don't think he's a super strong actor, but I think if he gets into a character, he could be a great actor. And I see Henry Cavill as maybe a Bond villain in like 15 years time, right? 10, 15 years time, Cavill playing Blofeld. Yeah, I mean it, Blofeld. If you look at the novel version of Blofeld, Henry Cavill could do that. And then he ends up getting, say, his face burnt, the scar, he gets a big scar there, head shaved, and you allow him to not be, you know, the lead, to try and be this super suave guy. No, tell him to go ugly. Tell him to forget the looks, to forget, you know, trying to be something that the audience want, and let him do a Heath Ledger like Heath Ledger did with the Joker, and let him go inside a fictional character in Blofeld. And I think that's the type of great Bond villain he could be, because he's got the physical nature for it. And I just think it would free him up. So I would love to see Henry Cavill as a James Bond villain, preferably Ernst Stavro Blofeld, like from the novel. So tell me in the comments below what you think of that one, because I reckon not many of you saw it coming. Now, number 9. I think this guy's a brilliant actor. He was also pursued to be James Bond around 1985-86 when Roger Moore left, and it is Mel Gibson. Yep, I've thought about this long and hard. Mel Gibson. Why? Because I think he's got such incredible screen presence, and he doesn't look like the Mel Gibson that we once knew, you know, from Mad Max, Lethal Weapon, etc. He's aged. I could see him playing an older, maniacal version of like a Hugo Drax, of a kind of like a in between a Stromberg character, maybe even an older maniacal Blofeld. He's quite short, but hey, screen magic can make him look a bit bigger. But I still think Mel Gibson has a lot to give. He's got an incredible presence. He's a brilliant actor. So yeah, I would love to see Mel Gibson. I think he could do it. I think he can be a chameleon, and I think chameleon, and I think he could get in and really give the role justice. So Mel Gibson as my number 9. Number 8. Okay, this is an actor I didn't know a huge lot about, and so I was looking up over the last couple of days actors who I believe could do this role. So Gerardo, I hope I pronounced his name correctly. Number 8. Gerardo Tarasina. Okay, now a lot of you may not know the name, but you probably would have seen him. He's speaking of Mel Gibson. He was in Mel Gibson's Apocalypto back in 2006. He was in Saving Private Perez. He was in Don't Blame the Kid, and he's already worked with a James Bond director who I think potentially could direct Bond 26, Kerry G. Fukunaga. He was in Fukunaga's Sin Nombre, which really got him to the attention of the James Bond producers. He was also in The Mexican with Brad Pitt, and he was in, again, speaking of another potential James Bond actor and villain, he was with Mel Gibson in Get the Gringo as well. So he's a Mexican actor. He's older now, but I tell you what, he's got this look about him that he would mess your shit up. So get on Gerardo Tarasina. I like it. There's just something about him. I think he'd make a great Bond villain. Number 7. Now this is an actor I've loved for years. A lot of you have loved for years. And the great thing about number 7 is he's the son of a classic James Bond henchman. He was in Back to the Future. Yes, guys. Number 7, Crispin Glover. Crispin Glover is an incredible actor. He's now 58, going on 59 years of age. He's got this maniacal, crazy face. He's actually starting to look a lot like his dad, Bruce Glover, who, of course, was part of Winton Kid in Diamonds Are Forever. And yeah, he's got that real, just crazy look about him. You know, he could be a henchman, or he could be the lead villain. He could do both. And so when there's actors like him out there, and I still think psychologically he pushed his body physically to go against Bond, with actors like that out there, that's again why I just can't really cast women in this role, because I think there's just too many great candidates, and I would love to see Crispin Glover as a James Bond villain. You know, he's not seen that much on TV, he's a bit reclusive, he's a bit odd, he's a bit weird, but if they could come up with a great character for him, and even if they brought back Wint and Kidd, how good would it be seeing him play the same character his father did? That would be awesome. So Crispin Glover is my number 7. Now, my number 6, the number 6 actor who should play James Bond is Tom Hardy. Not play James Bond. Tom Hardy's been touted as the next James Bond. I can't see it happening. Hardy's going on to be 44 this year. He's like 5'7", 5'8". He looks more like a bit of a plumber madman. He's a brilliant character actor, even though a lot of people, I haven't seen it yet, I do have it on DVD, said that the film Capone was pretty bad. Apparently he still was good as the actual character, as an older Al Capone. We all know what Tom Hardy can do. He was in Mad Max, obviously. He doesn't need any introduction like a lot of actors here, but he's got very different looks. You know, his body can go up and down in size. You look at him in the film Bronson, he was absolutely incredible. Look at him as Bane also in The Dark Knight Rises. Incredible actor, can do a lot. Not my preference for James Bond, but I think his screen presence and potential and just fearsomeness and craziness would be a terrible loss if he was never a James Bond villain. He could also be an incredible Blofeld. If you look at in The Dark Knight Rises, they made him look a lot taller than he is. They could do similar tricks like that. He would be an incredible Blofeld. Whatever, he could do any kind of James Bond villain. So Tom Hardy for me. So number 5. Number 5. This is my first coloured actor, black actor on my list. I love this actor. I love this actor. I saw him in Nope. The one, the only, Daniel Kaluuya. Bing! He was brilliant in Nope. I would actually, even though again he's quite, what is it with all these short actors? Even though he's quite short, I could see Kaluuya playing Mr. Big. You know, if they go with the Dr. Kananga thing and all that, and keep that name like they did, like, you know, they went with Dr. Kananga back in the Roger Moore Live and Let Die version. If he was Mr. Big, I think he could be absolutely incredible. Again, big high top shoes, like, you know, to make him look taller, camera angles, etc. Daniel Kaluuya's just got so much presence, and he's such a strong actor. He doesn't want to be James Bond. He also said he can't ever see himself as James Bond as doing that. He's not interested. But he did say he would like to play a villain. So Daniel Kaluuya is in my... So he's my top 5. You know what? Between top 5 and 1, this is a real... Any one of these guys would just make a great James Bond villain. Okay, so number 4. Now this surprised me even when I came up with it. And once it came into my head, I kind of couldn't get it out. Personally, do I like him? No, because I think the guy's really kind of seedy, a bit odd and a bit weird, and he's got a lot of bad public attention lately, though a lot of the public did swarm to him and the media made him look more favourably. My number 4 is Jack Sparrow himself, Johnny Depp. Now, I don't need to go through his films. We all know Johnny Depp, Edward Scissorhands, Pirates of the Caribbean. He's just a massive, massive star. The reason I've got him on my list is because he is a chameleon as well. He's a character actor. He's a method actor. He can change, he can create, he can turn into anything. And it's basically because of his talent. I just think to get his talent into a James Bond film would be incredible. And I think to not ever have his talent in a Bond film as a villain, even if it's in 10 years from now, he's getting on now. I think he's just about to turn 60 or around there, even though he probably looks a bit older. Sometimes he looks young, but recently he's been looking a bit disheveled, let's just say that. But Johnny Depp, I think, would be a great James Bond villain, so he's at my number 4. Okay, guys, we are now at top 3. 3 time. So my top 3 out of the top 10. Coming in at number 3 with a bronze medal is Josh Brolin. Yes, Josh Brolin, whose father, James Brolin, came very close to playing James Bond in Octopussy way back in 1983. He was so close to getting the role, he was even looking to move to England. But his son Josh has carved out an incredible career. Of course, many of you will probably know and remember him from The Goonies, where he played Mikey's brother, Brandon. And I love The Goonies. Grew up on it, went and saw it in the cinema. I think that was like 1985. So Josh Brolin, he was also in No Country for Old Men, alongside Javier Bardem, who of course played Silver. So Brolin can do anything. He really can. He's got such a screen presence about him. He can be scary as hell, and he can also kind of be confident, calm, and caring. It's a weird mix, and I think if you can bring that mix into a great James Bond villain instead of just a mustache twirler, I think it would be great. So that is why Josh Brolin is my number 3. So my number 2 actor who should play a James Bond villain is Michael Shannon. You guys may remember him from such hits as Superman, Man of Steel, from Zack Snyder's Superman, Man of Steel. So I think Michael Shannon is a phenomenal actor. Again, his name is out there. People know of him as a great, great actor. I mean, just look at this guy. Look at that guy. He is just crazy ready to be a villain. If Krazy Kajeevie isn't going to be a villain, then I think we need Michael Shannon to be a James Bond villain. So he is my number 2 because I think he's got depth, he's got range, he's got that thing in his eyes. You put a close-up on that guy, and then you cut to James Bond. You know James Bond's going to see this guy just looking through him. So Michael Shannon is my number 2. Now, with that, number 1 on the Krazy Kajeevie list of top 10 actors who should play James Bond villains. And my number 1 is the one, the only Viggo Mortensen. Some people say Mortensen, whatever. Viggo Mortensen is my number 1 actor who should play a James Bond villain because he is freaking awesome. I don't need to list all his films. I'll list a few. We all know him. Lord of the Rings. He played the king in Lord of the Rings. I can't remember his exact name because I've seen those films once and I need to go back to them. But Lord of the Rings. He was also in A History of Violence and Eastern Promises. Now in Eastern Promises, he plays this Russian mafia badass. Again, with a bit of a heart, a soul, but just a killer. In A History of Violence, he played a man. I don't want to ruin things if you haven't seen these films, but make sure you see these films because Viggo Mortensen is so good in them. In The History of Violence, he plays a man that's now like a family man, and the family have no idea about his past, that he used to be a hitman for basically like a mafia group, and he is brilliant. Now, he's my number 1 choice to play Blofeld, and I think the James Bond producers, when they cast this man, yep, we know who Krazy's talking about. Him, Blofeld. Christoph Waltz. And they thought they were going to get kind of like a Quentin Tarantino package deal, thinking he was going to be as good as villain as he was in Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards. But they got this, not this. They got this Blofeld. Now look, I didn't think he was the worst Blofeld ever. That award goes to this man. And jump to the left. Charles Gray as Blofeld in Diamonds After All. Oh, he sucked as Blofeld. Rah! So to me, yes, they dropped the ball casting Christoph Waltz, and the script probably didn't help Christoph as well. But for me, Viggo Mortensen should have been cast in Spectre in 2015 as Blofeld, and I just think it will be criminal and crazy nuts if they don't offer this guy a meaty James Bond villain role. He's just got to be a James Bond villain. So that is my number one, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of Krazy Kajeevie's top 10 actors who should play a James Bond villain. Give me your top 10 as well, but let me know what you think of my top 10 too. And once again, thank you so much for joining us here at the James Bond Show with Krazy Kajeevie, and make sure that you do all that stuff, like you drop a like. Come on, guys, it takes like 2 seconds. Hit that like button. Also, smash that subscribe as well, and we will see you back next time, because tomorrow I'm coming back with top 10 actors who should play Felix Leiter. Until then, guys, keep on bonding and say hi to your mum for me. Bye-bye.